In the year 2000, I crossed Canada on a bicycle promoting Rotary's Polio Plus program. We bought a book in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and found a poem that I thought was really, really good. It talks about a train driver, a train engineer, and who drives a high-speed continental passenger train known as the Limited. It is purported to be a true story. Now, I'm not superstitious, or at least I don't call it that. But when someone spins a creepy yarn, I sure don't deny it flat. For a man who has spent his lifetime with a throttle in his hand is just bound to have had a few adventures that he just cannot understand. Yes, I sometimes think that our knowledge here is but a sorry show, that really we're just on the borderland of what there really is to know. Yes, I used to think that a man could know all things that could be known, but there was certainly no reason to acknowledge any power above our own. That irregardless of how strange the circumstance, there always is a cause, and it is in complete obedience to at least some of nature's laws. But I couldn't shake conviction off, no matter how hard I tried, and so I changed my way of thinking after the night that Willie died. You see, Willie was my little son. He was my greatest earthly joy. And Maw and I, we just kind of seemed, dote upon the boy. Why, when I was out on duty, she would hover around the lad and treasure up his sayings and then repeat them to his dad. And every night at lighting time, I knew that without fail, his baby lips were home praying for the man out on the rails. Well, for 5 short years, we knew what a treasure really is. We became very much accustomed to those sweet little ways of his. And then one day, swinging through the gate, I saw with blanching face my wife, just as pale as ashes, a doctor in the place. Well, I tried to go on in steady, but my knees were knocking hard, and the lights just seemed to go out of heaven as I staggered up the yard. Well, the doctor was a friend of mine, who had children of his own, but he did not need to tell me. A blind man would have known. By that labored, quick-caught breathing, the little burning brow, it meant that the visitor was ready and was waiting for him right now. While we all sat beside his bedside in quiet, deep despair, the years just seemed to pour down on top of us as we faced each other there. Well, it was just a little before midnight when a ring came on the bell. It was the call boy. Say, "Excuse me, sir, but I was sent to tell you that the Limited is ready and there's just no one else around. They want to know if you'll come and take her, because if you can't, then she just can't go out." Well, I left the answer to my wife. And she said, well, with lips as white as snow, "Yeah, go ahead. You might just well go ahead and do your duty." So I thought and then said, "Okay, well, I'll go." Well, I told the crew. And my fireman beside me in his rough and ready way said that his heart was feeling things that he just could not say. Well, the night was dark and moonless. The bright stars overhead seemed to be whispering to each other, his little boy is dead. The very locomotive seemed to read my thoughts all right, and the engine just seemed to throb in sympathy as we bulleted on through the night. We'd been running fast and steady. It was a little after 2. Passengers were all sleeping, maybe a few back in a smoke car still swapping stories, when all of a sudden a sight that filled my eyes, that filled my heart with terror and affright. For there, standing right before me, outlined against the halo of the light, stood a little child, outlined against the blackness of the night. No, I could not have been mistaken. I would have known him anywhere. His father's chin and forehead, his mother's eyes and hair. 2 little outstretched arms seemed to coax and say, Daddy, come and kiss me, because I have to go far away." Well, I flung the brakes and the throttle, and amid the hissing steam, the vision grew, vanished, as if in a dream. Well, we finally got stopped. My fireman beside me said, "Your nerves is just going, Jack. Let's just leave the engine here. Come on. Let's take a little walk along the track. The exercise will do you good." So I followed as he led, till we reached this steep gorge that lay about 100 yards ahead. Well, the night winds cooled my temples as we walked the bridge upon, and all of a sudden we both suddenly stopped and gasped. That whole center span of the bridge was gone. Now, you may call that a hallucination. I know some other folks do. But I know the master come and took my boy home at night at exactly 2:30. And I know that the prayers of all those passengers was just been offered up in vain, because had my son's spirit, dressed in his baby clothes, not stood before my train, whew, yes, I know I cried in my window seat, was probably otherwise ill-behaved. But I know that the timing of my son's death meant that all those other lives were saved.